Hello. Today is June 10th and it is 1 p.m. right now. I had to let some things know, let people know about certain things. First of all, this is what I look like in reality. My hair, my face, this is what I look like in reality. I just didn't have time to get a haircut for a while. So, what I really wanted to talk about was the fact that now that things have actually come out about everyone and everything, what I've done, my history for the past, um, every single thing, um, proven beyond a reasonable doubt that I'm telling the truth, since the settings that law enforcement were actually trying to use to try to frame me, I wasn't even present in them. So in 2023, the entire year 2023, law enforcement was trying to frame me for a wedding, something that occurred at a wedding. And every time someone would talk about a wedding, law enforcement would flash me with extreme potencies of severe mental instability the entire year of 2023. The things that I can guarantee everyone is that I would not be present at this wedding. Whatever happened at this wedding, law enforcement would actually cover it over, okay? And anyone involved would be BFFs with law enforcement. People that would be definitely present would be people like Sohaib and Assad, the relatives from Michigan, okay? They would definitely be present at this wedding, whichever it might be. I would not. The reason is my story from the start has been right, and I have been telling the truth on it. The fact of the matter is, since I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity, I did not attend any weddings. Um, I couldn't afford to do so. Most of the weddings I didn't go to, like Assad's sister's wedding in 2003, I didn't go to it. I didn't go to most of the weddings that occurred, most family gatherings. Me and my mother could not afford to go to. All we did was pretty much just work hard in our house. So law enforcement trying to frame me in the year 2023 is highly ironic, considering the fact that not only would I not be present at this wedding for whatever the incident that might have been that might have occurred at this wedding. Um, Fact of the matter is, I would have absolutely nothing to do with it. Okay, I would have nothing to do with it. And the people that would be people that would be BFFs with law enforcement, which would mean that law enforcement basically covered over whatever the incident was that occurred at this wedding. I was not present in it. There's going to be absolutely zero evidence of me ever speaking of it or anyone speaking to me of it. Whatever the incident is that occurred at this wedding. Now, the thing about it is, law enforcement tried to frame me for this wedding in 2023. The reason was sheer desperation. By the year 2023, everyone in the world had found out about everything that had been going on since 2001, which was Uncle Joey's sex scheme ads. Um, yeah, sorry, sex schemes with Uncle Joey's in-laws. And in the year 2023, there were even sex scheme ads going on with Uncle Joey at the funeral in November 2023. The entire year of 2023, you have money fraud that's going through, where law enforcement meets with, transfers the money to whomever they want to. And the fact that they tried to frame me for an incident that occurred at a wedding that I can guarantee law enforcement I would not be even remotely present in, really does just it it proves my point. And my point was that ever since I gained slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, I was never present anywhere, and law enforcement always was. How do we know law enforcement always was? Was because law enforcement was present at this wedding. And we also know that law enforcement was involved in whatever the incident was that was occurred at this wedding. How do we know law enforcement was present at this wedding? Well, they know about it. So if they know about it, they had to be present in it by watching it, um, doing anything needed to be able to know about whatever the incident was that was occurring at the wedding. Sorry, I was getting text messages, which is why I had to look on the side. Anyways, um, yeah. So law enforcement was present at this wedding. We also know that, um, well, we don't know, but I can guarantee the courts that not a single person who was involved in the incident at this wedding that I was trying to be framed for in the year 2023 would have ever have been asked a single question ever. Never. Not once. And I can also guarantee that people like Sohaib and Assad would be present at this wedding. And I can guarantee that there would be absolutely no investigation done for this incident. Instead, in the end, law enforcement tried to frame me for whatever the incident was, despite me being not present at this wedding. Clearly comes to show exactly what kind of investigation law enforcement had been running since 2001, where they had been running sex schemes with Uncle Joey's in-laws. Uncle Joey, a man I am not allowed to go near since I was a child. After I became older, I didn't see the need to go near him despite law enforcement torturing me, because I knew why they wanted me to go near him. Okay, they wanted to run sex scheme ads for Uncle Joey, and I know the woman that they were. Her name starts with a D as in dog. You probably know. Anyways, the thing is, so this is what law enforcement had been doing since the year 2001, basically running sex scheme ads. And in the end, in 2023, the year 2023 kind of explains everything to you, where law enforcement is, they're running money fraud using hard-earned taxpayer money from disability unemployment, and using that to wire transfer to their friends. Now, this money could not be transferred without law enforcement meeting with the person, exchanging bank account numbers, phone numbers, everything. Because this person whom the money is being transferred to, it does not live in this country. I can guarantee you that much. And this is the same person law enforcement also fights for his sex schemes as well. They pretty much do this for everyone they know. Yeah, if there wasn't so much competition due to my brain savant, they'd probably ask me to be a part of this sex scheme as well. This is all law enforcement has done since 2001. What happened was, and the year 2023 really shows you, is that pretty much I left everyone, not due to pride. It was because people weren't needed, and some people were perverts, and some people were just not needed. There were a bunch of lowlifes not needed. So ever since I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, I never was present anywhere, pretty much, including this wedding that they were trying to frame me for in 2023. I would be the first person not even remotely present in this wedding, while everyone else, including law enforcement, would. Everyone took part in this crime. Obviously there was something that happened, including law enforcement who covered it over, and Sohaib and Assad were present there. No one was ever questioned. Law enforcement was not even ever asked by the courts, why did you cover over this? And the person who wasn't present was, you try to frame him for it. That's me. The thing about it is, I'm not going to be present at this wedding. Despite me being watched 24/7, there won't be a single incident of me ever speaking of this incident at this wedding ever in my life, which means that law enforcement obviously was trying to frame me in the year 2023 by flashing me with severe mental instability drugs every time anyone would mention a wedding. So the thing about it is just the fact that, so if this is what law enforcement has been doing since 2001, what is their strategy? What's going on? Basically, law enforcement wants to find a time in my life where someone said something bad around me. When I was a child is when war occurred, and that's probably when someone could have said something bad around me. The only problem with that is it would only be as me being a child in that setting if anyone did say anything bad around me, and and the person saying anything bad around me would be a BFF of law enforcement for decades. The other thing is, it would not be as bad as what my dad, the Greedy Framer, was doing in the year 2011, which law enforcement tipped him off about, never questioned him about, Okay, my dad was basically giving sermons from his house every single day to different groups of people on jihad and the killing of innocent human beings every single day. Till one day he suddenly stopped. All right, so he didn't say the war on Islam is a war on you. I didn't hear him say that, but I felt like someone in law enforcement must have, because the things he was saying was really like it in 2011. So I thought someone in law enforcement must have heard him say that, which is why they wanted me to write that in my journal. But I didn't actually hear him say that. But I did hear him in 2011. Recruiting people for jihad and the killing of innocent human beings, not something I should talk about like this. Incredibly sad and depressing. And throughout the more than 25 years my mother's been watched, she hasn't uttered one bad word, considered bad towards anyone ever, not once, not even remotely. My mother never has, not even once, not even remotely, never in her entire life. And you can ask law enforcement, they will tell you that I'm telling the truth on that. Never has my mother uttered one bad word considered bad in any way, shape, or form throughout her entire life. And here's my dad, the greedy framer, whom I've only met about 3 times my entire life. And on one of those times in 2011, he's recruiting people for jihad and the killing of innocent human beings. And ironically, this is the man that law enforcement is giving their talking points to only because they cannot say it themselves. How is law enforcement gonna say it? They're gonna be like, someone said something bad around Hassan when he was a child, and that's when the war occurred. Well, that person who must have said something bad around Hassan, first of all, Hassan was a child and no adult's ever been questioned despite them being BFFs with law enforcement for decades. That person would have been BFFs with law enforcement for decades. Law enforcement never cared a thing about it. And Hassan was never seen in any settings when he gained even the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, which means that children are not liable under the law, adults are, and the other adult in that setting is law enforcement who never cared a thing. And why is this setting being used now? Let me tell you. The reason this setting is being used right now is due to the fact that all their false testimonies have failed and gotten caught. November 20th was a false testimony that law enforcement made. After the entire year of 2025, they found absolutely nothing bad against me. Pretty much, I spent my entire life with my mother, who's done absolutely nothing bad her entire life, never uttered one bad word considered bad her entire life, not even remotely resembling what my dad, the greedy framer, was doing in the year 2011, where he was recruiting people for jihad. That's doing and not saying. And if anyone said anything around me as a child, when I was a child, that would be saying. In 2011, my dad was recruiting people for jihad and the killing of innocent human beings in masses every single day from his house by giving sermons on it. He thinks he's some sort of a, he thinks he's a, it, I don't know how to describe it. I haven't heard of many of these, but I think he thinks he's like one of those people that are like have like these powers. Like, I'm not joking. My dad, the greedy framer, thinks that he has some sort of a power religious wise. I'm not joking. I'm serious. And people treat him like he has like these powers where they would come and ask him to make prayers for them and things of this sort of nature. I'm not joking. Okay? People in his neighborhood literally consider him some sort of a really high-ranking official who could make prayers come true. I'm not joking. And my dad actually considered himself that. And if you ask around, you would even find people telling you that he calls himself the Emir of Ireland, which is like this group of people who go from house to house and give people sermons outside their house. It's called like Tablighi Jamaat or something. And I remember one time he called it Tablighi Jamaat in Maryland, and I was like in the 7th grade, I think. And he was like, and they called my mother. And my mother picks up the phone and they're like, we want to talk to Hassan. And they're like, they're like, and my mother's like, who's this? And they're like, we're the Tablighi Jamaat in Maryland. And my mother's just like, don't ever call her ever again. She just hangs up. I'm not joking. This was like the seventh grade. I heard her say it. But my dad, he considers himself the head of like this thing in Ireland. And people go to him and they give him all of their prayers and they tell him what they need and he prays for them. And in 2011,